Hello and welcome to another conversation in my series, Conversations with Wise Women. My name is Catherine Rowan and today I'm with Elaine Callahan. Elaine is a true you brand alchemist and she helps people to rebrand their lives both on the inside and the outside. And that's a very potted version of what she does because Elaine does all sorts of interesting things and she does her work in interesting ways. So maybe our conversation will touch on some of these interesting ways, which include hand analysis and human design. Um, but first of all, these conversations are very much, conversations with real wise women. And we're very much hoping that they appeal to other women and that you feel that you're very much part of this conversation. So just before Elaine and I started, I commented on her hair, which is a bit from the last time I saw her. And she mentioned to me that she's been considering going natural, i.e., letting the gray come through, and that her hairdresser had made an interesting comment to her about it. So I think we might start there because I'm sure
Okay.
many women might have that sort of experience of the hairdressers, because I know I certainly
Okay.
had that for mine when I said, because mine went gray on the top first.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's
And it
right
was like,
there.
yeah, the roots, it was like, oh, I can't be doing these roots so quickly because my natural hair color is quite dark brown. So it's really obvious. I
Yeah.
went to the hairdresser and I sort of said, I think I'm considering letting my hair grow out and go natural. He said, you'd hate it. Don't do it. He said, the answer is we put blonde highlights in. So he put in blonde highlights. And I just thought, I'm not a spiritual blonde. Anyway, so your story, please.
Well, I've been inspired by you because we've had a conversation about your hair and I thought it was gorgeous. And I've had a couple other friends who have just beautiful gray hair and it just suits them and they own it. And I just love it. So I'm going to be 60 in December. And I've been thinking about, I want to let my hair grow. But when do you take that step? Because there's going to be that awkward stage, and I have no idea how awkward it's going to be, or how long, or if I'm going to like it. All that stuff, that chatter in your head. So I talked to my hairdresser about doing it, and he was totally on board. And he was like, "You do this or do that," and I said, "Okay, well, I hope by the time of my birthday I can say yes." Well, it takes a pandemic for me to kind of be forced to growing it out. He wasn't able to color my hair once the salon was back open, but another person was who gave me the very blonde highlights that are hiding all of my gray. But when I lived in Atlanta and I was at the hair salon and I had made a comment to the owner of the salon, it wasn't the person that did my hair. I said, I want to go natural for a number of reasons, cost, just growing into it. And she said, you will never get another speaking job if you color your hair. I mean, if you don't color your hair. And I was like, oh. And for how many years ago is that? Probably 3 or 4. And I didn't because I wanted that look, that look of maybe I'm younger as opposed to wiser than I really am. So it was kind of interesting. And hair is such a big deal in our society that it was like once I got my hair colored and I came back from getting it washed, I just gasped because I could see all the gray, which I hadn't been able to see with my curls and stuff. And I was like, I wasn't really sure. And the woman who did my hair, she's like, if you don't like it, you can come back. We can recolor all your hair. And it was that moment of, well, if not now, then when? There will always be that uncomfortable moment, and there's uncomfortable growing out and evolving. And why not now? When I'm at home most of the time anyway. So that's my hair story.
Yeah. As you say, there's so much emotion around this decision about hair and so many opinions as well. Because actually, you've just reminded me after I had started letting my hair go gray, and well, in my family, there is a sort of people do go gray relatively young. So I've been coloring my hair since my mid-30s.
Yes.
This episode about, the top being so gray that it was showing my roots quickly. By this time I was in my late 40s. So I actually stopped coloring my hair relatively young, because I think, other women that I'm aware of, like you, they might be around 60 or later than that. Mm-hmm. And they stop coloring on. Some people don't stop coloring. I mean, it's
right.
choice. But I remember after I had stopped coloring, enough of it must have grown out that it was quite gray. And a male colleague, business colleague, whose opinion, it was somebody whose opinion I really valued on most matters, but he sort of took one look at me after he hadn't seen me for several months, and we were sort of in a meeting, and he sort of said to me, "Oh, so Kathy, have you given up on men then?"
Yeah.
And I was quite hurt by the comment, and I was sort of thought, a bit the same as you saying, "Oh, you won't get another speaking gig." It's sort of like, "Oh, will men now think that I'm really old?"
Right.
But actually, I have met men since who love my gray hair, so it's all right.
Your hair is gorgeous. I mean, like I said, it's been an inspiration.
Unfortunately, it has become fashionable in the last few years, which is, I think, really helpful to women who want to see what they're like natural. And of course, you can always change your mind again and color it again.
Absolutely.
But it's a shame that at least some people would be coloring their hair when actually they might look more stunning with a natural color. So I think that's always an interesting discovery, isn't it?
Oh, it is. I mean, there's so many emotions I've gone through about my hair. Like part of it, like right now I'm enjoying the blonde. I'm not blonde. I'm more brown. I was always brown. It's fun and it's a transition, and it's kind of helps me ease into it. Is it always going to be there? No. Do I know what it's going to be like? I have no idea, but that's part of it, is to enjoy the adventure of it, as opposed to, oh my God, I'm getting old or whatever. And who knows, maybe I will go back. I don't think so. If I've taken this and I'm really learning to embrace being a wise woman, being that, there's things inside of me that are really finally coming out, that in a shining in a new way that I didn't do before. So it's totally okay. And anyone out there who's like, oh my God, I'm never going to get my hair grow gray. It's such a personal choice.
Of course. This is not anything.
No, but it's such a personal choice.
People, but I'm sort of interested from what you're saying. Do you find, as you're making that choice, or at least playing with it, that you're also confronting your views about aging, or the cultural messaging about aging?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's in some ways very scary, because I don't think I'm going to be 60, you know what I mean? Like energetically, or like my viewpoint, but I am. And so what does that look like in the world, especially when it doesn't match up to maybe traditional ways, how I'm supposed to be, how maybe I'm not, I mean, this is old, not really supposed to speak up the way I am really actually designed to speak up and be who I am. And it's interesting how much the conditioning is coming up. Like I really see it like, oh my God, Elaine, this is just the conditioning. This is conditioning out in the collective. This is the conditioning that I have unconsciously bought into. And so now I have a new choice whenever I remember that, to be like, am I gonna just give up on life, or am I gonna embrace a new season?
And also, recognizing that it maybe is a new season too, that maybe there is a shift from one phase to another.
Yeah.
Of course, there are all the t-shirts now that say 60 is the new 40.
I know. my coach the other day had said, that's not true. She's like, I don't feel anything like I do. And she's in her 50s. I don't feel, and so, and again, it plays into that whole thing about eternal youth in our society. and we've kind of forgotten about the wisdom of our elders. They have life experiences, they have things to offer that that are still of use today.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things I'm really interested in with regard to this wise woman's journey that I've been sort of creating and promoting is, okay, we may not have, many models out there of the wise elders. There are some, but it's not widespread in our society. So let's explore this together and decide that that's the path that we're going to walk, and let's treat it as though, it might be old ground that we're re-breaking, but let's treat it as new ground that we have to break, to give those models for the next generation down, our children, our grandchildren, or those in those age groups if you don't have children and grandchildren. But let's do that. Let's work out what it is to be a modern wise woman. And let's create that. And for me, I think, it's always hard when you're breaking new ground. I think it's always hard to do that on your own. It's so much easier in community with other people who are like-minded and want to do the same thing.
Yes.
So hopefully, even through these conversations, it gives people ideas and support.
Right. There's so many of us out there.
I think
it could be all of us.
There's so many of us out there, and if we don't get the speaking gigs, even if our hair
yes,
hear from us. So I'm going down the route that the gray is part of my brand. So I'd love to talk to you now about branding and pick your brains a little bit, because as I see it, I learned today from Facebook that you've been self-employed for 25 years, a long time, and I've been self-employed for around that length of time too, because my daughter was 25 and I mostly went self-employed when I had her as a way, because back at a quarter of a century ago, 25 years ago, there wasn't the internet and everything else. So it was either, as I saw my choices then, because I've been in corporate management consulting, I couldn't work those hours with a baby, so I had to find new ways to keep my professional hand in, if you like, which is what I saw it as in the beginning. It wasn't about being entrepreneurial, it was just about keeping a hand in. So but I recognize that over those years that it hasn't been the same business, and I haven't wanted to do the same things. And I suppose, as a person who's in personal development, your business does change as you grow, but I also think it changes even for people who may not be in personal development. And so I was interested in anything you had to offer about maybe people, women get to this phase of life, suddenly realize, when we were talking beforehand about our rejection of the crone term. Actually, we're happy with the wise woman, but the crone, thank you. So maybe there is this, no, I'm not in that yet, keep it away. I'm pretty sure that was going on for me, because I had my daughter late, so I managed to extend the mothering phase, well, actually till the end of last year. But yes, once you get to this point, whether it's, empty nest syndrome, or your parents have passed away, or you've had an early retirement package from work, or maybe something has happened that you've realized, okay, things have changed around here. Maybe you do have to look at your image and the way that you're showing up. And maybe it is, yes, about, okay, maybe I don't want to be the same color blonde as I was when I was 20 years ago, or the same color brunette as I was 20 years ago. But it's also comes right through your work as well, doesn't it? It's like, okay, if I'm changing my branding, how do I want my image to look? How do I want it to look now in the future?
Right. So I do something a bit unusual. I do the branding and the graphic design, but I also do hand analysis, human design, and coaching through that. And it's really to help people understand who they are at their core essence, what they were here to, experience and create and be. And ideally, I want to always start there. And it's interesting, even before I ever had that as part of what I offer, I was always asking these deep questions for clients. And it didn't matter if it was small business or corporate. I wanted to get to the essence of what it was and cut through all the crap of superficial stuff. So the trueness and the authenticity would come through. And so I help people with their inner branding, really understand how their true design is. And then I also work with them to create branding, their business branding. And so it's helping them understand who they are and what they offer and lining that up. That was like the ideal thing to work with, but I work with people in various ways, how they come in. But people in our season of life, if you will, it's really an opportunity to rebrand, if you will, because a brand's always evolving. You know, it can be a subtle shift over the years, or it can be a really big one where, like for me, the introduction of hands in human design. But it's really an opportunity to give us ourselves permission to be our more authentic self. You know, kind of let the other stuff go away, or just own, like, I'm in this part, I'm more interested in spiritual things, I'm more interested in whatever, and giving yourself that opportunity to allow yourself those experiences.
Yeah, I would certainly say that was my experience from you doing my hand analysis, that it confirmed things that I felt. So
Yes.
it was one of the things that encouraged me to sort of say, okay, this idea that I had for the wise woman's journey, okay, I'm going to change, change the shop window of my business
Right.
and really focus on this one thing now, because it enables me to display the full range of what I have to offer and the full range of my gifts.
Yeah, like I just got chills all over. So when you reached out to have this conversation, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. In part because it's offering this and having these conversations so lines up with your hands, they lined up with your human design, they take into account all your experiences. So to me, it's just like it makes me, I'm in human design, I'm a generator. It makes me feel so satisfied to
Mm.
see you shine.
Oh, thank you.
To really, and I looked over my notes yesterday, and one of the things that I had highlighted, because you are a leader, right? And you're the projector, and you have rulership. And is that your cross is rulership, I think, in human design?
Yes.
Yeah. It was like, oh, so I totally got why you were attracted to the word queen, right?
Mhm.
But it was like I had highlighted you're a leader with grace and elegance, which is a different energy than when we think of the typical leader. You know what I mean? And I think you're still a person of strength, but you do it in such a way that there's just beauty around it.
Well, thank you. As I see it, we have, like, when we talk about women leaders or feminine leaders, you
Yeah.
have the queen types. And, traditionally, the queens and the kings would have had their advisor, like the high priest
Mhm.
or the priestess, or, if you go back in English history, the king and the archbishop, those sorts of things. And um, so, yeah, and these are different types, aren't they? Because as you say, my human design, I'm a projector, it's the guide. So I'm more a high priestess type than
Right.
the queen
Right.
type. But I just want to say to anybody who's listening that if you're in that sort of stage, well, at any time of life, but we're talking to people who are midlife
Mhm.
and and moving towards the sort of like um, retirement or golden years. You or I would be good adverts for retirement, an alternative retirement. But
Yes.
if you are at that phase of life when it feels that some things are finishing, like the work that
Mhm.
you've been doing is finishing, or it's like the kids are moving out, or the parents have passed away, something has happened that you're in a new
Right.
phase of life and you're not sure how things are fitting and matching up, I could definitely recommend that you see Elaine and have your hand analysis and maybe even your human design, her to read your human design chart, just to look at. It helps you get back in touch with yourself. It reconfirms
Mhm.
gifts. It gives you if you're considering options, it might help you guide you towards which option to go down. And that's all before you get into the branding bit. You might be ready for the branding bit, but there's so much you have to offer before anybody gets to that branding bit too, which is needed. I certainly found it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and it's because wherever we go, we take ourselves. You know what I mean? So some people, when, they just wanted to, not just wanted branding, but like, what's my colors? And it's like, there's a lot of, not a lot, but there's pre-work. Like, who are you? What do you offer? Why is this? What makes that unique about you, so it can come out and shine, and not just be like you and I were talking before, of like, a food person's colors are this because that's the way it is, as opposed to it being in alignment with who you are and what you offer. It's going to resonate because people can sense when things are off. They might not have a language, but they're like, oh, something's not right there.
Yeah. So what Elaine is referring to is one of the things that I have added to my suite of offerings is color analysis work. And it's a method that's it's not very freely available. It's not like the standard color systems where you're just typed as a season and you get a standard. It's a very individually designed palette, and it has purposes for personal development and your business, as well as, yes, of course, once you've got your colors, you may want to renovate your closet and
or your home, I bet.
And your home. Yeah, it has all sorts of things. But we were just saying beforehand is that this color analysis is actually looking at your individual color vibration. So your native colors, the things that are present in your hair, your skin, and your eyes, your natural coloring. And I've found, since I've been exploring this work for the last couple of years, that as I explore more about my color palette and where the colors in my palette more, it's like if I then go to something that I know is not in my palette, it doesn't feel right anymore. I mean, I've got more sensitive to the actual vibrations of the colors, and the colors that are mine, the closest ones to me, actually feel the best on. They are nurturing me as well as everything else. And then there's the whole point from a branding point of view is, if you see yourself as a brand, and I'm talking just about business, but from a point of view that we're all unique expressions of the divine, if you like.
Absolutely.
Unique expressions. And if we take this view, we're all an important part of the whole. And from that point of view, we want to be, fully expressed and offering our own gifts. It's not satisfying to try to be somebody else. And certainly I probably tried that one a number of times when I was younger, and I'm sure lots of people do. It starts at school, doesn't it, when you want to be like popular people or whatever.
Yes.
Start doing your hair like they do, or dressing like they do, or something. But as you get older, you only really, it's not even what you want, it's a need to be yourself. I think there's that inner drive to be fully expressed. And I think as you get older, for me, it's like that bell gets louder. If you're not expressing yourself and giving your gifts, that sort of, you start to not to feel fulfilled.
Right.
And that's what I think the value of these tools that we can offer, my color work or other things that I do in your branding work, is that these tools have the power to sort of show somebody who they really are and which parts of them might be calling to be expressed at the current time, where they might want to put some attention into expression and development. And as you say, maybe a lot of times that's just about permission, because we all know inside, who we are. It might not have been reflected back to us, and we might not have been given permission to be that.
Right. And I find it's permission, it's validation, as you said, it's languaging sometimes. You don't have the words, but sometimes when you explain it, I'm sure you have that with color with people. They're like, oh, I never understood why I always felt, X, Y, and Z around the color. And once they have the language, they're like, that's what that is. They can step forward, because sometimes it's just they don't know what it is until they've seen it in a new light, and they see the possibility, and they see, oh, that is the thing that I always knew that was there. That's, like you said, like calling them forward, that's calling them out. They're saying, come home to your soul.
Exactly. Come home to your soul. And I think the gift to people, if, doing it at this point of life, particularly you're stuck in the mindset of, oh, it's too late. I'm getting too old.
Right.
No. Well, yeah, of course you might be too old for it. There might be some things that for practical
Right.
you're not going to go back and do, but we're called to different things at different points in our life. And to me, it's
Yes.
about discovering what you're being called towards now. What is it now is your calling and your purpose.
Yes.
Most people, they're turning 60. Well, many people, these days, their life expectancy can be 90, 100.
Yeah.
That's another 40 years of life.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully, obviously, what we want to be doing is, keeping ourselves healthy enough to enjoy it and keep expressing ourselves in the way that's right for us.
Right. And for me, it's feeling satisfied, and for you, that successful. And, and I think maybe when I was reading something you wrote this morning about, I don't know if it was you or somewhere else, about, as we get older, I mean, there are choices. We can kind of go the way of, I'm old and I'm going to stop doing this stuff, or we can choose to embrace it and take that path that, as you said earlier, may not be that well known, but we can venture out into a new, maybe even the best part of our lives, if we allow ourselves that possibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. And why shouldn't it be the best part,
That's what I'm going for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We want to get up in the morning feeling
Yeah.
alive and enthusiastic about the day, I think, as much as anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Elaine, would you like to tell people how they can get hold of you if they'd be interested in
Oh, sure.
more?
The website is trueyoubrandalchemy.com. I also have a private Facebook group. It's True You Brand Alchemy Circle. You can always private message me if you have any questions or you want to have a conversation of how this can benefit you. I do have a free workshop coming up starting October 19th through the 22nd, and it's called Shine Your True Brilliance, Discover and Embrace Your Personal Brand. So we're going to be talking more about what does it mean to have a personal brand, and that's more on this, that inner soul, unique design, and why it's important now more than ever to let ourselves shine. So it's right on point with this conversation.
It is. So that's great.
Yeah.
So people can come and do your branding course. Then on the 30th of October, I've got a Wise Woman initiation, which I think our work dovetails together really well.
That's awesome.
So they can do your branding, then they can come to the Wise Woman initiation, 30th of October. And if you want more details about that, there'll probably be somewhere where this video is posted, but my website is catherinerowan.com. And I have a Facebook group called The Feminine as Power. You can also find me on Facebook as Catherine Rowan on my profile page, or I have a new page called The Wise Woman's Journey. And that actually, that's actually the name of my coaching offering to The Wise Woman's Journey. So I work with people either privately one-to-one, and there will be a small group of program starting at the beginning of January.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you very much, Elaine. I hope
thank you.
everybody who's listened has enjoyed our conversation. And do get in touch with me and Elaine, and yeah, there will be more conversations, and yeah, a group of great wise women gathering to support you and offer you tools for your journey. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye bye.